Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation. This is a two-player game by Fantasy Flight Games. It is inspired clearly by the Lord of the Rings lore, well, novels, but then it just spawned such a huge cult that it is something that goes beyond the book only. This is a game that I've had in my collection for a while now, but for whatever reason I never played it. Well, I kind of know the reason. I looked at the back of the box and I just realized that it looked like a simplified version of Stratego, and so soon after I added it to my collection I kind of regretted it. I never ended up playing until last night. Last night I decided, well, let's just give it a try as a filler between two larger games. And then my opponent and I just never ended up playing the second game because we kept playing this one game after the other, switching sides, trying with different versions of the game because we enjoyed this game so much. From game one, we were really impressed by the design, and as we kept playing, we kept being more and more impressed, more and more delighted by what this design has to offer. So even though this is not a new game, this is definitely a game that you can still find out there. You can find second-hand copies, you can get copies in a trade. So I want to tell about this game because I hope I can put it on your radar if you don't know it yet, because this is a really fun game. I think it is an excellent two-player game, excellent filler, or even just if you want to play a series of games. The game is just so entertaining, it has so much replay value. Okay, I've anticipated most of my conclusions now, but still, let's try to do things at least partially in the proper manner. So I'm going to tell a little bit about the way the game works, and then at the end I'll go back to telling you about my impressions, and I will elaborate on those a little bit more. The game is played on this mounted map, which is divided in two main regions. A region belonging to the dark player and a region belonging to the good player. And the two regions are separated by a line of mountain areas. Each region contains a homeland area, Mordor for the dark player and the Shire for the good player. At the beginning of the game, you place all of your characters on the board. 4 of the characters go in your homeland area, and then you place a character each in each of the 5 areas in front of your homeland area. Characters are represented by plastic stands, and the back of the plastic stand tells you the strength of the character, the identity of the character, and the special ability or abilities of the character. Different characters have different types of abilities, and the stands have information only on one of the two sides. The other side will be facing the opponent, so the opponent only sees the blank side of each stand and cannot know automatically which stand corresponds to which character. Turn structure is very simple. During your turn, you simply choose one of your characters and you move the character forward. In most cases, there are different areas that you can choose from, even when you can only move forward, but unless there are specific game effects that allow you to move sideways or backwards, you can only move forward. After you move, then your opponent moves a character, and players keep going back and forth, moving a character each, a character at a time. But if your movement brings your character into an area that also contains a character of the opponent, then you have a battle. It may also be that actually the battle will involve several characters on one side and only one character of the opponent. In that case, first the side that is attacking chooses a random attacked character, and then after that fight is resolved, if the attacker is still in position, is still in that area, then you fight against the other character. Basically, the fight continues until there are only characters belonging to one of the two players in an area. Other things about movement, there are stacking limits that you cannot exceed during movement, and those limits are of 4 characters for each homeland area, 2 friendly characters for each of the areas in front of the homeland area, and 1 character per mountain area. Also, in mountain areas, a sideways movement is always forbidden, even if there are game effects that would otherwise allow you to execute that type of movement. Other advantages are available for the good player. The good player may take advantage of the tunnel that runs through the Moria region and that allows the player to move unicyclically from that area to this one. But if the evil player has the Balrog placed in that area, here's the Balrog, then if the Balrog is in that area, units that are trying to move across are eliminated instead. Also, the good player can use river movement in these areas here, simply by moving sideways following the direction indicated by these arrows, but only the good player can take advantage of that. When you must resolve a fight, the first thing to do is to reveal the characters involved in the fight and to read the text printed on the stands of the characters, because the effects generated by the text may eliminate one or both of the characters. If this is the situation, for example, then Mary instantly defeats the Witch King, you remove the Witch King, and the fight is over. But suppose that instead this unit had attacked that one, then we have the orcs attacking, and when they attack, they instantly defeat the first character that they attack. Then this would be bad for Mary. If this is the fight, then when Boromir is involved, as you can imagine, thematically, both Boromir and enemy character are instantly defeated, so we remove both. But there will be many cases in which the text printed on the stands of the characters is not enough to resolve the fight. Then, in that case, each player plays a card. Each player has a unique deck of cards. Some cards show numbers and some cards show text effects. The evil player has only 3 text effects, but then number cards that go up to 6. The good player has numbers that only go up to 5, but then has 4 text cards available. The cards are played secretly, 1 per player, and then they are revealed simultaneously. Numbers are added to the initial strength of the attack, printed on the stand of the character. If both players played number cards, then you simply add those numbers to the initial strength of the characters and you compare the total. In this case, the dark player has 9, the good player has 7, then the dark player wins and the good player has a character eliminated. But if a player played a text card, then you resolve the text card first. In this case, for example, you ignore the strength of any number card played by the dark player, so we ignore this card. This card doesn't add anything to the initial strength of the attack, then we're left with 4 versus 3, and the Nazgul is eliminated. If there is a tie, then both characters are eliminated. And if both players play the cards with text effects, then the text effect of the dark player is resolved before that of the good player. Players alternate moving characters one at a time and resolving battles that are triggered by movement until one of the 2 players meets his victory conditions. The dark player has 2. One is to place 3 units in the Shire region. If that happens, the dark player wins the game immediately. The other condition to win the game for the dark player is to capture Frodo. But Frodo is a sneaky fellow. He's not that easy to capture because when attacked, Frodo may retreat sideways like that, and a situation such as this one would spell doom for the dark player, because the one victory condition that the good player must meet is to bring Frodo into Mordor. Even if there are enemy units in Mordor, the presence of enemy units has no effect here. Frodo is in Mordor, then the good player wins the game. The game comes with 4 optional cards, 2 for the good player, 2 for the dark player. You can choose whether you want to include them or not. Shadowfax allows the good player to execute an extra move during a turn, so a character can potentially move twice. Gandalf the White allows you to bring back Gandalf if he was eliminated early in the game. Gandalf returns in Fangorn unless that area is controlled by the dark player, so the dark player actually will want to keep a unit there just to prevent Gandalf from coming back because it's pretty powerful. And when you play that card, you need to spend your entire turn doing so. You cannot do anything else that turn. The Palantir allows the dark player to look at all enemy characters in a single area, and Recall to Mordor also requires an entire turn to be played, but when it is played, the dark player can bring a unit back to Mordor from wherever on the board, which is pretty good to defend against Frodo's arrival. Fun! fun. This game is really fun. I was so surprised, and pleasantly so, of course. The game, yes, looks like Stratego, but it has advantages. It is smaller, yes, because Stratego, let's face it, it's a very basic introductory game, but it can be a little too long for what it has to offer. This game is shorter, is tighter, and yet it also feels deeper to me. It feels that it has more decisions, and there are more levels of strategy that you can create and you have to defend against. Sure, you have the individual capabilities of the characters. You will be maneuvering your characters so that they encounter certain other characters of the opponent. This is particularly true for the good player that has many characters that can eliminate specific enemies of the opponent without even having to play the card to resolve the battle. But then you also have that at the level of decision, which is represented by the cards. And you have, of course, here an entire set of decisions to make based on outsmarting, outthinking, and outguessing and bluffing, of course. What is my opponent going to play? What does the opponent think I'm going to play? How can I interact with that and turn that to my advantage? Also, deck management, very interesting, because as you play, you will deplete your deck of the best cards. Your deck will become weaker and weaker unless you have decided to sacrifice some of your characters early in the game so that you still have your stronger cards in your deck as the opponent becomes weaker and weaker. It is important that you remember what the opponent has played and what are the options still open to the opponent. Very interesting. Part of the game that really requires you to take an active role in managing and planning ahead and preventing things from happening. For such a small design, such a small, simple game, it does pack a lot of decisions, and that, of course, is what makes the game exciting. There's a lot of interaction. There is even theme. That was a huge surprise. I saw right underneath it, I thought, oh, probably this is going to be an abstract game with a theme pasted on, the theme just being created by the illustration and the flavor text. Not at all, because the way in which the map works and the characters work, really these things go together and come together to create a surprising degree of theme. Of course, this is not an 11-hour Peter Jackson movie about the Lord of the Rings. It may not be epic, but it is still thematic for what the game is. It was a delight and a surprise to find out that it still felt thematic to a good extent. So this is a game that I really enjoyed, that I enjoyed it as one of the main courses of a game night by playing a series of games after the other. It can be a great filler, it can be a great play with your spouse game. It is extremely easy to play, and yet it does have a level of depth and of strategy that, again, is absolutely remarkable for a game this small and this simple. So this game, I'm really happy I finally got to play it. I really hope that now the game is on your radar if it wasn't before. Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation, a very good small game.